Well, friends, it looks like the Hormuz crisis has ended. For now. Let's talk about it on the weekly update. Okay, friends, let's talk about the oil crisis ending for now. Here's what you need to know. The crisis in Hormuz ends for now. So that I've hinted at it 3 times, so let me show you what I mean. But first, let's take a look at the market the way we've always looked at it. This is the S&P 500. I've got kind of a zoomed in view here, showing you a little bit tighter the Hormuz crisis and where we find ourselves today. One thing that I will say is last video that we did was April 1st, April Fool's Day. The video was entitled Don't Panic. And that was basically, we didn't have the entire day ahead of us, but it was basically at the bottom or, one day off the bottom where I was advising you not to panic and that things were okay and that there were, good things happening in the Middle East. And so hopefully you took that advice. Very pleased to see the market where it is right now, back at all-time highs. Looks great. So not panicking was correct. Here's what I think is coming after the don't panic phase. I'm going to share with you a couple things. We're going to look at some of the stuff that we looked at last week. We're just going to kind of update it to where we are today. But in general, there are positive developments across the board with one very large exception. Here's what I think I got right. So this was from last time that we talked, and I said, the oil was flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's all that the market cares about. The market doesn't care who actually owns the strait. The market doesn't care about the geopolitical games being played. The market cares that the economy is supplied with the necessary hydrocarbons to keep the wheel turning. And that's where we find ourselves today. So the one thing that I think I got absolutely correct in this crisis moment was understanding that since the oil was flowing through the strait, that's all that matters. And what you'll see is, we'll talk about it a little later, as I've mentioned on the channel numerous times, most geopolitical events don't matter to the market. The market is an economic engine, not a geostrategic engine. And so the Strait of Hormuz, the oil flowing, was all that we needed to see. And that oil primarily is Iranian shadow fleet and Chinese oil. And as long as that was flowing to China, which it is, that's really all that matters. So this is what I think I got really right in those crisis moments. Okay, I'll show you. This is the way that we looked at the market last time. So this is fear and oil. We'll look at oil. Oil peaked around, I think it was around 115 a barrel on WTI. And then since then, it has come down to around 90 bucks a barrel. That's pretty good. It is nowhere near the $50, $60 where it was before this crisis. And so what oil is telling you, all we care about is the rate of change, not the absolute level. So the rate of change looks pretty good here, coming off the burner, off the boil. That's positive. The fear gauge for the market, the VIX, last time we were talking, I was talking about like a 28 on the VIX, which signals panic. That was a pretty reliable indicator. VIX today right now is at 18, telling you that the market is returning to normalcy very rapidly here. So fear and oil, these were 2 things that we looked at last time. Oil was on the burner, the fear gauge was high. If I look at where we are right now, the oil is trending in the right direction. So the rate of change is going in the right direction and the VIX has come down. Let's talk about that for now, though. Let's talk about that next phase. So all of these positive developments are happening because of the ceasefire, because of the diplomacy that's happening, and because we are letting oil through the Strait of Hormuz. That is what has led us to this moment with the market rebounding. However, I feel as though there's going to be a next phase in this conflict. And what I'm showing you here, this is the last 7 days of C-17 Globemaster activity, basically showing you what CENTCOM is doing with its heavy transport planes. We have had 521 individual flights. And if you look at where these flights have gone, they are mostly going towards the Middle East. And these are just the flights we can see. There's going to be quite a few of them that don't have their transponder on. So there's probably actually more airlift activity than what I'm showing you here, and this was just the last 7 days. It is being reported in the Washington Post that we've moved another 10,000 troops into the theater. I think it's the George Bush is moving into the theater as well. It's rounding Africa as we speak. And so what does this look like? Well, it looks like we are preparing for the next kinetic phase of this conflict. I don't think this is brinksmanship, so I don't think we are just moving these troops here to try and get better terms at the negotiating table. I think we are preparing for negotiations to fail, and we are preparing for the next step, a more kinetic strike. And when that happens, I think it ends in boots on the ground. I think it ends with, all kinds of stuff happening here. But as long as the oil is flowing, I think it will be more normal in terms of a geopolitical event than what we saw previously. Previously, there was the shock around Hormuz, and that's what caused the market to go down. If we're going to land some troops, if we're going to try and unearth some enriched uranium, if diplomacy fails, I expect the market to actually take it in stride. It will certainly be another phase of this conflict, and we will see more volatility, but I don't expect it to be as bad or as painful as the last one, because I think we will let the oil flow. Again, this is a dynamic situation, and all I'm doing is I'm sharing you with what I see. But what I'm telling you here is, if there's another phase, another kinetic phase, I wouldn't be surprised, because we have been moving assets into the theater the entirety of this ceasefire, and I think we pick it back up again, once diplomacy ends. So what does it all mean? What are the key takeaways from where we are right now? Well, the ceasefire has brought calm to the markets. Oil is transiting the Strait of Hormuz, and which is the only thing that the market really cared about. And so I think Trump actually has an interesting position here if he is going to go kinetic in Iran. As long as the oil keeps flowing, I think the global economy can withstand it, and it should look more normal to geopolitical activity. So the primary cost there is humanitarian. It's not economic, but I think the market can survive it. I'm going to say that diplomacy still seems like the only likely way out to me, but I will also kind of update that a little bit to say, if you read the story around the recovery of the downed American pilot, we built an airfield inside of Iran. And so what that tells you is the Iranian regime has a very tenuous hold on the country, and that's what I think may embolden us to do a new round of kinetic strikes, because I do believe that their military has been, destroyed pretty well. Does that mean that they can't launch drones and boats at ships that are transiting the Strait of Hormuz? No. I mean, I think that capability, you have that capability at a very low level. But what I do think is the Iranian military has been trashed by, the significant bombing campaign that has happened. I don't believe that the troop movements that we're seeing during this ceasefire time are just brinksmanship, and I wouldn't be surprised at a new kinetic phase beginning after talks. And the only thing I will say, as I say all of this, I think the market's going to take it in stride, because for the most part, the economic aspect of this war has been solved. We're going to move oil from the United States. We're going to do different supply. The price of oil has raised, which is, incentivizing production and all that sort of stuff. So, I really think this next kinetic phase, should we get it, I think the market will take it in stride. So there you go. Markets look great. We're really good. We had a test on the 200-day. We didn't panic 2 weeks ago. And if there's going to be another hill in this roller coaster, it'll be okay. We'll survive that one too. So there you go. That's the news for this week. I'll see you next week for the news review. Take care. Okay, friends, that was the video. Hope you liked it. If you found it informative, good, entertaining, I'd love if you could scroll down here beneath the video and give me a like there. It helps us out with the algorithm. And then if you want to be notified first of anything new that we upload to the channel, if you come over here, click subscribe, you'll be the first to know as soon as we upload anything. Appreciate it. See you soon.